We're live.
Hi, Erin May.
Hi, Steve Eulberg.
We're using the new techniques that are available in Vimeo today, and I got to go over there and just make sure it's happening like it's supposed to be happening on the Facebook world. But welcome to the Wednesday
Excellent.
LiveStream from Dulcimer Crossing, and I'm going to turn the sound off on Facebook. There we go. Erin May is joining me from Wichita, Kansas, and
Yeah.
I'm in Boise, Idaho, and we are a duo. How do we do that, Erin May?
I don't know. It happened kind of accidentally, I think.
We've played together for years, and she and her sister and I were a trio, and would join up, plan tours around the country, and go play together in
And
in
I think,
Ohio, Kentucky, and California, and Kansas, and Arizona. That's a lot of fun
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, we've made it to quite a few places. Just magical, and I'm missing it.
And then when we couldn't do that, wait a second. There we go. I kept hearing you say hello again in the video on
Oh,
the Facebook.
Facebook.
Um, so what we want to do today is talk about how do you arrange together when you're playing, and how do you arrange on the fly. And one of the things we experienced on one of our tours when Erin May and I were out crossing the country heading toward a festival destination in Kentucky is we thought, we'd really rather be playing music than sitting in a car. So we'd stop at a rest stop, pull out our instruments, and start playing. And then we thought, hey, let's do rest stop pop up concerts. And so we did those the rest of the tour. And we started were we in Illinois? Yeah. And then we did one in Ohio, and did one in Kentucky, and another one in Kentucky, and then another one in Illinois, and one in Kansas City. As we were coming back around, heading back to, because this tour was a loop from Erin's home in Wichita, and
Yeah.
that meant we didn't really have a plan for what we were going to do, did we?
We did not have a plan in advance. we we very much came up with a plan in the moment.
And it was a lot of fun. Mainly what we did is I would say, which instrument should I play this time? And Erin May would say, I think I'll play dulcimer.
That's right. I'll play the chromatic mountain dulcimer, and you can play whatever you want. It'll work out.
And we ended up, and we made videos and posted them on Facebook. And when we got to the festival, it was so fun because people were saying, we're having so much fun watching you get to the festival.
Yeah, it was really happy.
But it was not unusual for us to do that, because when we perform together, a lot of what we do, we pick a set list and maybe who starts it, but then we kind of arrange things as we're going a lot.
We do. And part of the reason that we can do that is because we're all pretty careful listeners. So we're making sure that if I hear you go one direction, then I'm going to try to stay out of your way. So there's sort of a constant listening to which way is it going, and there are like small ways of communicating, like take it, which give us the next piece of instruction.
It's like,
um,
that I got to stop you there, because I grew some tomatoes in my backyard when I lived in Kansas City, and we had a good family friend come in the back door. I said, "Have a tomato," and I threw it to her. She caught it, and she threw it right back and said, "I don't like them." It's like sometimes you say, "Take it," and they say, and that reminds me
no,
of
thank you.
a Smothers Brothers routine where Dick and Tommy are playing, and one says the other, "Take it," and he goes, I don't want it." And that was a part of their whole shtick at that moment, which was really fun. Oh, Jim Fry says your music room never changes, but rest stops always change. This is true.
That's true. That
And at
is
the very
true.
first one, we decided we should play longer because there was a police activity at the exit of the entrance back onto the highway, and we weren't getting on until that was cleared anyway. So
Might
let's
as well
play
play
another tune.
tunes.
Nothing to worry about here. But this
Yeah.
led to us. This led to us having the idea separately, like we are, to doing a pre-recorded concert for online concert thing in November with a theme of gratitude, which is, no, gratitude is good for every day, but this was November, and that's, so, Thanksgiving month for those in the
Especially
States.
poignant.
Yeah. Um, and so this is what we want to do, is share with you one of the tunes that we had arranged. Well, actually, this goes back to that year, doesn't it? Because we taught a week-long class for Mountain and Hammer Dulcimers playing together
We did, and we taught the tune Holy Manna.
with a
And
lot of
so,
variations.
hmm,
And this is an old shape note tune. It's the one, um, brethren we have met to worship are the words that get used with it to start and stop the Sacred Harp singings, at least in Benton, Kentucky. But let's go to our video and let's watch and see and figure out what we did. If people have questions, you can certainly ask the questions.
great. 1, 2, ready, play.
Oh, thank you.
Button pusher.
In that
There.
place, yes, the engineer is distracted since that's
My
me.
tunes.
Oh, but what we taught that class, you could hear there were some different that we changed tonalities. But how do we start off? Do you have the list of how we did this? You
I
sent it to me and I
do.
can't find it.
Yeah, I have, well, we had just some very simple little notes, which let me see if I can put them there. I wonder if I can put them in the Facebook group.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Maybe. I'm going to try to in just a second. I got to get there. For some reason, I'm not there on my computer.
While you're doing that, let's talk about how the instruments are similar or different. The standard 1615 hammer dulcimer's low note is a D, which is the same register, which is the middle of the bass clef, just like the low note of the mountain dulcimer. So they share the same vocal sonic range for the most part. And but the timbre of the instruments are very different from each other. And so one of the things, thank you, there you did, you have it. One of the things we started off thinking is how do we highlight us doing things together and then do what Erin May said earlier about getting out of the way each other. So here's the plan we used. First, we did unison. We and we laughed because in college, my nickname was E. I roomed with a guy named Steve, and his name was Ropkin, and mine was Eulberg, and so we went by E and R. And S is supposed to be Steve, but then E looks like me too. That's Erin's playing in the first octave. It doesn't mean that to her, but it does to me. The first time through, we play unison high, but in the B part, we split up octaves. So
Right,
we were in two different octaves. And then the second time through, Erin plays the melody on her middle string, and I'm playing a harmony. In the third time through, we went to B minor, which is the relative minor of the key of D. And we didn't have to use any unusual notes, right?
right.
We
Not,
had
no
everything.
new notes.
We had everything that a standard mountain dulcimer could use. You didn't need
Mhm.
a chromatic mountain dulcimer for that one. And then
Right,
we also paid attention. The fourth time we went to unison and mid range. So we came back to unison after being in different places, and then we went to the parallel minor, which is when we stay on the same starting note but use a minor scale instead. On a standard mountain dulcimer, we'd have to have an extra fret in there, or we go with a chromatic mountain dulcimer. The
right.
mo-
The one and
the
a half would give you the D minor scale
well, it would give
that
you
we
the
used.
that we used, yes,
Yeah.
because it you don't have a B flat on without retuning to a different tuning.
Right.
But the 1.5 fret gives you the F that you want. And on the hammer dulcimer, I moved to different boxes. That was the way I dealt with that. Um,
Mhm.
and then the last time you were high and I was playing low chords until we had our final finish. So we we played with this before. So when it came time to put something that'll be in a record somewhere, that we chose out of all the choices. When we play this live, we usually do a whole bunch more options, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And we don't necessarily plan all of the parts. So we know we're probably going to go to the relative minor and the parallel minor because we have enjoyed that variation over the years. And the rest of it, we kind of do more spontaneously because we didn't have to record it in separate places. We can just listen in the moment to what is happening. And but we tend to do things like I go high, you go low, or I play melody in a central place, you play a harmony line, or one of us switches to playing chords while the other one does a more embellished kind of melody line. So we're paying attention that if we're playing the melody at the same time, we want to play kind of a more simplified melody. We don't want to add a lot of extra stuff to it because we want to be able to stay together and have that be really clear. But if we are sort of going in different directions, or one of us is playing chords while the other one is playing the melody, there's more room for the kind of fancy embellishments of rhythmic and melodic variations. So that's a piece of it for me.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about the listening thing. Part of what makes that happen is we trust each other. We're not in a competitive situation where we're trying to one up each other,
Mhm.
and we're
And we
it's more about like running around the yard and playing tag or something like that. It's for the fun of
And I
doing
think
it.
we both have the goal of making the other person sound great, right? And not right. And that means that we're always consciously trying to be out of the way of the other person, and never in this place of like, we both have to play it at the same time. Like we're trying to win at something, or like
Get out of
I'm
my
trying to sound the best. Which I have enjoyed being an accompanist for a very long time, in part, I think, because when I'm an accompanist, my whole job is to make sure the other person sounds awesome. And I am not the center of that. But when we're playing together, like we both kind of have that goal of making sure the other person sounds really great, which means that we are always giving the other person kind of space and room to do the thing.
And the image I had, you've got a big island in your kitchen, and we've got one in our kitchen, and we might think to ourselves that it's too hard to listen that carefully. But if we were both cooking to get the meal ready, the goal is not for me to get mine done first. It's my part of what I'm doing. The goal is for us to get everything done. And so we get out of the way of each other. And sometimes that means coming, I'm behind you on your left. My mom would come up and just bang my leg, bam, 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 which meant move, so she could get something out of the drawer. And it's like, your words, mom, use your words. She was focused. She had, of course, she was the main cook. I was just the sous chef, or the eat the leftovers chef. That might be
Mhm.
more likely. But we have to have some way, and we do that stuff all the time.
Well, and Jim mentioned in the chat, you could act competitive for comedic effect. Bluegrassers do that sometimes, and I think that staying out of the way of each other, trying to make sure that there's space for each other, is not giving that having your chance, right? So like bluegrassers and jazz musicians, there's very much a sort of choreographed dance of like, look, you get the spotlight now, and you get to take that space. And then sometimes there's like trading fours or trading eights, where we're
Uh-huh.
passing it back and forth more quickly. But even in those spaces which sometimes appear really competitive, there is a sort of system or method of saying, now it's my chance. Look, I get to take it now. And then the next one goes, wait, no, it's my turn. I get to take it now. Um, and that is really like passing back and forth. And no one's hogging the ball unless only one person is taking all the solos.
Yeah, yeah. I was that reminds me of a recording I was listening to of Ricky Skaggs with Earl Scruggs and Doc Watson.
Nice.
It was this really great trio, and Ricky got out because he's a clawhammer banjo player, and he and Earl, he says, this is we I always love the what Earl does, but I can't do that. And Earl, he said, did you ever try to play clawhammer? He says, I never could get it. My fingers kept waggling around all the time. And Ricky says, well, them waggling fingers made you rich and made us happy. And then they played Soldier's Joy together in the clawhammer style and in the three string style. And they did that and they're very different sounds of what a banjo can do because
Yeah.
of and some of it's the claw hammer didn't have a big resonator on the back, but so there was a different timbre of the instrument itself, but it was mostly how it's played, and how in claw hammer the melody is a lot of times implied with hammer-ons and pull-offs and things, and it's not, every note is not articulated exactly the same. And then here comes, Earl articulating and adding the high drone and all that kind of stuff, and then they took turns, and then they played it. I mean, they were backing each other up, but then they played it unison, but not unison. It was the two styles at the same time, and it's, for me, it's like, if heaven ain't like this, I will be disappointed.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I think it's most fun playing with musicians who have a very strong sense of their own style and aren't going to try to play in a different style when you play together, but you bring those styles in and kind of begin to mesh them. And there's always some amount of like, one style is going to influence the other person's playing because you're listening to each other, and so we're going to kind of go weave together with stylistic things. If I change from four feel to two feel in my accompaniment, it's going to change the way the other musicians I'm playing with play in that space. But also, we're not veering away from like the way we usually play in any major kind of ways. So we're not necessarily trying to orchestrate like an exact, everyone's playing the same style, as much
Yes.
as how do our styles blend together to create something that's different than either one of us could do on our own.
And the other thing is, I will hear you laugh or say, or, you'll have something like that. And sometimes for me, when that happens, it's when the surprising thing happens. You'll do something surprising. It's like, oh, we haven't done that before. That's cool. Or I'll get excited because something you did just opens. It's like there's a little advent calendar door that I haven't seen before. And all of a sudden the tune opens up and shows me that little piece because of something you did. And it
Uh-huh.
leads me in a different direction, or at least it leaves me with candy in my pocket that I'll suck on later. It's like, we're going to figure out what this is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm as I'm thinking about, so what makes us able to arrange on the fly. One of the things, of course, is listening to each other, but one of the things is to have explored on our instruments and within a piece of music many possibilities before we come together. So we take a tune like Holy Manna, and we did teach it in a class, and one of the things that we were doing in the class was finding all the possibilities in it.
Right.
So we were very intentionally looking for all the places on our instruments that we could play it, all the ranges it existed in, all the different rhythmic variations we could do to the tune. Where is a harmony part? Where are the minors that are interesting around it? Could we put it in a different key? Could we? And we just looked, and it was like digging for treasure in this one tune for more than an hour of digging in one tune. And I've been thinking a lot about how we tend to play a tune like one time or maybe three times, and three times is like, okay, I did it. I did the thing. I played this tune three times. The ability to arrange a piece of music on the fly often comes after you've played a tune for 300 hours. And then all of the possible things that could happen. And when you sit down together, you go, we could play this tune and we could find all these different sounds in it because we've kind of looked for them in advance. I think when we have played together, the pieces of music that we have arranged the most formally are the ones that one or the other of us maybe doesn't know as completely. And so we have to actually make a plan about what we're going to do because we have it each individually spend as much time pulling that piece of music apart. So you got to have a plan if you don't have as many options kind of tucked away in your back pocket. But we can
Right.
sit down and play Angelina Baker or Holy Manna or Southwind and make up the arrangement a little bit differently every single time.
Which is actually, I use jam sessions as a workshop for that, because other people are carrying the tune. I mean, once I start it and other people are playing, I can let them carry the tune while I'll do some exploring. And if it's a big enough jam session, what I'm doing doesn't have any effect on the jam. It's not going to kill it, or people are going to stop and go, wait, that's the wrong octave. Or I don't do the minor variations, but it's like, what the heck happened there?
Right. But how many times have you been in a jam session where they call a tune you've practiced in D in a different key?
Exactly. Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I have to find it on my instrument in a different place. And that can sometimes open up different ideas.
Exactly. Like Southwind, you mentioned, the Dulcimer world always plays it in D. I learned it in F first. That's the way it's in the Fiddler's Fake book.
Uh-huh.
And it puts it in the part of my hammer dulcimer that has the B flat that's up here, which means I don't have the things above it that I have in other parts of my instrument. And I have to do everything going horizontal instead of straight up and down. And it changes the way I think about the instrument, as well as gives me a whole different sonic space in which to live and for the instrument to live. And because it's doing that, it's helping me, it's teaching me my instrument better, as well as the tune. And then
Mm-hmm.
and it's, F is a minor third above D, so it's a little brighter for me. D is kind of like, oh yeah, it's a comfy old chair. But F is like, we're dressed up and we're going to be on stage now. It's kind of the difference for me.
Yeah. Doug mentioned in the comments on Facebook that making each time sound different and interesting can be difficult. And I have to say, it's easier for me when I'm playing with someone to do that because I don't have to be the one who comes up with all the ideas.
Yes.
Or things like we can play a melody and a harmony together, which I can't necessarily do very effectively when I'm playing by myself. So that's one of the things I enjoy the most about collaboration is that I don't have to be the only one coming up with the ideas for making it sound different every time. I can go, okay, I'm out of ideas. Your turn. Back to take it.
Yeah. Now, I did get that other video in. It finally woke up and everything. So
Yeah.
this is one of our rest stop pop-up shows this was in Ohio, and this time was a blend of, or the two instruments were a dulcibro and a chromatic mountain dulcimer. So why don't we take a listen to that?
Hi,
Hi!
Steve Eulberg.
And Erin May.
Another restaurant. Another restaurant
Video.
concert. Another rest stop concert. Oh,
In Ohio.
we might be a little bit road weary. What do you think?
Maybe.
All the way from Wichita, Kansas to outside of Springfield, Ohio. But we found ourselves at Shady Grove and a dulcibro and a mountain dulcimer. So we thought we'd sing about somebody who likes to cut up wood. Mississippi soil. 2, 3, 4. F. B flat.
I'm going to end that there just for time, but that was a good example of
Of when we didn't communicate?
well, it was Mississippi Sawyer is one of those tunes that sometimes Rick Thumb likes to call it Mississippi Butcher, or and in the B part you can do that second chord as something other than the A chord that, and so that first time we went to F, and then I was going for B flat, but we didn't communicate that with each other, and so it was kind of B flat and E flat at the same time or something, and
Uh-huh.
but we didn't stop when it didn't work. We just kept on going by and left the wreckage laying there.
Yep. Yep. Which is definitely an important performance technique. Just keep on going. Just keep on going. Laugh a little for sure, then keep on going.
I liked and that was one we hadn't talked through at all. It was clear that I was moving to the bass and we were listening. Because the dulcibro, I'm not touching the strings. I have my ear helping me, but I kind of keep my eyes on where I am. And so you were touching and had the tactile stuff, and we're doing a lot more visual cues and stuff, and I could only catch them a little bit. But it was what I really liked also, you were changing you did your groove, some chop and groove kind of stuff. And even when you were playing the melody by yourself, I mean, it was your turn to play melody. You were doing some chord melody stuff and doing that.
Yeah. And there was definitely some switching between chords and different octaves, and yeah.
And a lot of volume changes. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
when either one of us was playing the melodic part, the other one would back off and play dynamically behind that, so that you could hear clearly what's going on. Because a chop or a ringing dulcibro tone, while the other thing is doing the interesting thing, not as important right now.
It can be kind of overpowering if
Yeah. Well, these we could do this for a long time, couldn't we?
We sure could. Talk about arranging all day.
And we might need to revisit this topic at some point in the future. But this has been fun
to both be able to be online at the same time.
Yeah.
We'll have to do some more of these.
Yes. And think about some other guests that we might be able to have join us. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
The thing we want to celebrate, let's see, right now I want to share my screen and Chrome tab, that's what I want, is because tomorrow is one of our monthly workshops at Dulcimer Crossing. This is the front page of Dulcimer Crossing. If you go to dulcimercrossing.simplero.com, we see Don Petty is up. And what he's focusing for this February month of love, songs of the heart, traditional songs and ballads, or as they're called in the mountains, old love songs pertaining to the affairs of the heart, romantic songs from Southern Appalachia, most with happy endings. And And that's a thing that's a benefit for members of Dulcimer Crossing at the workshop and the mentor level. If you are at that place, just go to the live events and click on upcoming, and you'll see the way to access that. If you're not a live mentor or workshop member and want to take part in that, you can just click this button here and sign up for the workshop and have just the a la carte workshop. Both get access to the replay video archive that happens afterwards. And let's see. Oh, I think it's going to be I think the theme next week is that curvy, all the curvy lines that happen in music.
Ooh,
that's what we're going to be doing next
nice.
week. So come back for curvy lines. And right now, I will bid you farewell from Boise.
And goodbye from Kansas.
Thanks, everybody.